Erin's grandparents didn't live near her growing up, and her next door neighbor became like a grandparent. The neighbor's grandchildren called her Nana, so Erin called her Nana too. Every day, without fail, Nana would send the children outside so she can have her mid-morning coffee break in peace. Erin explains that everyone on the street knew that you didn't mess with Nana, so if Nana was having her coffee break, the children had better be severely bleeding to interrupt her moment of peace and quiet. Erin is now a parent, and although she doesn't have a fiercely guarded self-care routine like Nana, Erin appreciates the example Nana set about prioritizing her need for rest. Meet Erin with me. Hey beings, you are listening to the Be Peace Equations podcast, or you are watching Health Be Mind on YouTube. And I'm so excited because I have someone to play a game with me, y'all. I have been playing games by myself and I've had you guys experience them in the comments, but now I have a live person and I want to share with you all what my goal is. So primarily, I want to promote leaders and creators and thought leaders who want to just add some value in the world with their product or service or idea. And so I'm gathering those people who identify as those type of people. And Erin Flemings, she is going to play a game with me. If you haven't already checked out, I'm going to share a little bit about Erin before we get into a game. But we are going to have a different podcast experience. It's not going to be, just listen to the stories and going through the questions. We're just going to play a game, but we also are going to make sure that we get enough about what Erin provides to the world and how she contributes. But in your own words, Erin, before we get started, I have two questions. One, How do you identify yourself if the world didn't identify who you are for you? And then how does your product or service contribute to the world?
Okay, so I think how do I identify myself? I think probably my sensitivity kind of leads the way. And I suspect there are lots of people in the world who've figured that out. I'm also neurodivergent, which some people may not know by looking at me or speaking with me. But yeah, those are pieces that I kind of hold close to me. I'm not always so open about. I think I feel kind of protective. And so because I feel vulnerable, I don't share it with everybody. I share it with people that I feel like I can trust, to hold that with care also.
Yeah.
And then the second question, can you repeat the second question for me?
Yeah. How does your product and service contribute to the world?
So I am really into compassionate communication, and that's based in self-awareness and self-acceptance. So finding ways to be compassionate with ourselves. And the more we're compassionate with ourselves and see ourselves as human beings who are learning and making mistakes in the world, we can extend that to other people also. So we can extend it to our kids, our families, our friends, people that we work with, our larger communities, but sort of coming back to ourselves and getting connected with what we're feeling and what we're needing that can guide us in our relationships that matter to us. A lot of the work that I do is related to supporting people in exploring that. So I kind of wear an educator hat. I run free workshops related to helping people develop their empathy skills. And, I've run some paid workshops as well. And I have a book coming out. So I've tried some different things in the world. My favorite is actually just running those free workshops because I love connecting with people and not actually having money attached to it. Although I recognize we live in a world where money is needed. But yeah, I love those experiences where it's really just about connecting and getting to know people.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get to know you, Grace.
Yeah.
So a little bit about this game. I'm going to share thoughts that are out here on the internet, on social media. Two of them are actually going to be rules that we're going to just listen to. And after I read or after it plays, you're going to put whether you agree with it, that's going to be the O, our thought. Rather you disagree, which is the T, that's their thought, which means it belongs to the author. Like you don't agree with anything in it. Or remix, you agree with some of it, but you would tweak it just a little. And that's going to be the letter R.
Okay.
So you're going to hold it up without showing me yet. And I'm going to let you know how I think that you guessed.
Oh, okay. That's really good. I like that.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad. I've just been making stuff up and I'm excited about it. I don't know if the world is. So I love that you felt that way. So I'm going to share the first one. This actually comes from Twitter, and I'm going to share it on my screen so that you can see.
Okay.
So the first person says, I think people who call themselves empaths are just really codependent. And the second person says, I think people who don't understand what an empath is, but insult them anyways, are just really insecure. So what we're going to do is we have two thoughts here because we have 7 in total. So we're going to do 2 here. So the first one, I think people who call themselves empaths are just really codependent. You're going to put your answer up on the right-hand side, but don't show me.
Okay.
On the left-hand side, you're going to put your answer up for the second one so I can answer them both because I can cheat with one or the other. So I just realized that I can cheat with that one. So what we're going to do is for the first one, put it in your right hand. I think people who call themselves empaths are just really codependent. And you're going to say, do you agree with that? Our thought? Do you disagree? Their thought? Or are you will remix it a little? And then for the response person, I think people who don't understand what an empath is, but insult them anyways, are just really insecure. Do you agree with that? Does it totally really belong to the author? Or is it something that you would tweak a little bit? I don't want to say twerk so much. Tweak. Tweak a little bit.
Okay. I've got my...
When you're ready, just put them up here, but don't show it yet.
Got it.
Okay, great. All right. So because I did my research, I'm going to say that it's T for the first one in your right hand, their thought. And then for the second, you're going to put remix.
Okay, you're really good. So for the first one, I actually put remix.
Oh, did you? Ooh.
I'll explain why though, because I think it is possible for empaths to also be codependent. I don't think those two have to be like exclusive. I think I could be a lovely empath and have some codependencies too, but it doesn't mean that all people who are codependent are empaths, and not all empaths are codependent. So there can be some overlap. That's definitely a judgy statement, and I can totally understand why you said that's a their statement, because I'm definitely not on board with all of it. However, I can find something to like, I don't know. I don't want to agree with it, but I do want to remix it a little bit.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then the next one, I actually did remix also.
Yeah.
And that's what you guessed. Do you want to say why you guessed that?
So I guessed it because the part when it says are just really insecure. So the way that I would read something like that is, based off your intro in the beginning, you said that, we want to be basically mindful with our language with one another. And so going to something like really insecure is kind of not being as mindful, because the way that I would remix this entire experience here is this person is already kind of coming from a place where they're judging empaths and saying they're codependent without really understanding what empaths is or why they, are codependent, or the words around that. And then that second part is they're trying to respond and support empaths, but also bring this person down. So they're kind of using that same energy. And so it's not really helpful. It doesn't really contribute. Neither of them are contributing to the conversation because they're coming from angles that are a little bit more I don't know what the word would be, but we're not being mindful of the other. So like there's a phrase that I like of don't take it personally. And I think it carries a long way, because once someone doesn't take it personally, then you release the power from the other person. Because here people are just going to continue to be mad in the thread. Yeah,
I totally agree with you. Yeah. I see that first statement as being really full of judgment. And I see the response to it, just like you said, just slinging that judgment right back at the other person in that same energy. And I don't think it really moves the conversation forward. And I also think, it's really hard to even sometimes have those kind of conversations on Twitter at all.
Yeah.
It's hard to kind of move the needle on that. But yeah, I'm totally in alignment with what you said.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead and go to the second one. So that first one was from Twitter. This next one is just a quote that was on Instagram.com. And if it comes up, I'm going to just show it on my screen, hopefully. Oh, do you have Instagram?
I do.
Okay. I'm going to just send you the link so you can see it, or I can just read it to you.
Oh, yep. Here it is. Okay. If empathy does not seem to be working, ask yourself, am I truly feeling empathy for my child, or just trying to express empathy in order to get them to calm down? Children can tell the difference.
So I'm going to say that you are thoughted. Like you totally agree. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say anything yet.
That's okay. That's okay. I was already getting my paper ready for our thought. So go ahead, explain your reasoning.
Right. So 1 point for me, our thought. I don't think I only have 2 points, right? Because I got the other one.
Yep.
All right. So I think, with a conversation centered around children, you usually are going into the right direction if you're trying to open up the pathway of children and parents having a better relationship. Mm-hmm. And in my history of being a child and being a parent, this is something that I would agree with. And because I agree with it and it resonates with me as a parent and both the viewpoint of being a child and a parent, I would see that someone who was interested in the empathy conversation would also agree with it. So you put our thought.
Yeah, I put our thought. I can argue slightly off of that too, but in general, I do want to say our thought. I think that when we're using empathy as a strategy to get what we want, it's kind of manipulative. Mm-hmm. I would much prefer, a parent to say, I'm feeling really frustrated right now, and, own up to what they're actually feeling and what they would actually like to receive from their child. And then that actually opens the door for the child to be able to show up and contribute to meeting their parents' needs. I think sometimes when parents are giving empathy as a strategy, like empathy trying to get certain behavior out of their kid, I agree with that. Kids are pretty smart, just like adults are. You can tell when you have a real connection with someone. And maybe you could use that strategy a couple of times and your kid wouldn't notice, but eventually they're going to pick up on your cues about whether this is sincere or not. Because if your actions are not lining up with your empathic words, they're going to remember that. And you're sort of creating this pattern of it's slight mistrust almost. So for the most part, I agree with this. I do think that sometimes if empathy isn't working for your child with your child, they might, it might not be that the empathy isn't working. It might be something else. Mm-hmm. I can think of a couple of examples of that, but sometimes we need a whole lot of empathy before we feel like we're ready to move on. Sometimes I'm not ready to move into strategy on someone else's timeline. I need to have like a whole lot of time and space for me to feel really settled before I can feel like I can move forward. So I can go off on a tangent on this one, but I'll stop here. This is a short game.
Yeah. You know what? And I'm loving the way that we're doing this right now, because originally I had designed it so that there wouldn't be option for feedback throughout the game to keep it at 15 minutes. But at the end that you would choose the one that you had to get feedback. But we can
go faster. We can revert over to what you want to do.
Yeah, I'll see what works better. I'm gonna, I'm experimenting with everyone else, and people start to get feedback and they want to go over 15 minutes. But I also want to give those who are like, if they could do it quick and then see where, because I want to have that restriction of feedback too, and see which one stands out to you most.
Yep.
Let's try for the remainder of it.
Got it.
Their thought or remix. Okay, so this one that I put in the chat comes from Reddit. You can go ahead and read it and then put your paper up when you have the answer.
Okay. Empath is just another term made up like last year describing people who are empathetic. Anybody except psychopaths can be empathic. There isn't a special percentage or capacity for empathy that you need to be considered an empath. Empath is a spectrum. Oh. Okay, I've got my answer.
Okay. I actually don't even know. Because then you responded like that, and now I'm kind of thrown off.
I know, because I really had to think about it, and I went,
Yeah, you did
you off.
The threw me off. I'm gonna go with
what you had at first.
Okay.
You've gotten a few right. I bet you got this one right too.
I'm gonna go with remix and change to remix.
That was my but I actually went with our thought.
Oh, you went with our thought. Okay, interesting. So my original one was actually going to be their thought.
Yeah.
See, we can't talk about it. We can't talk about it.
I know.
We're not going to talk about it. I'm going to send you this link. I'm not sure if you have TikTok. Do you have TikTok? I probably should have prepared this a lot better. This is a TikTok video. I'm actually going to share it on my screen and we can watch it together.
Okay.
What is the point of having empathy? Empathy is an outdated genetic mutation that used to be advantageous for surviving in herds. But because of advances in society, we don't have to do that anymore. By slowly tapering off having empathy, you can set yourself up for a much easier and more rewarding life. Start with videos of people falling. Then move on to plants. Finally, get comfortable with berating service workers. Through your thick skull, I want curly fries! This is how you can get to the Goldilocks zone of having just enough empathy to operate in society, but not enough to prevent you from achieving your dreams.
Danny, this is like the trick question, right? Because he's like making fun of people who might think that. So am I responding to his exact words, or am I responding to like his deeper level of
Good question. So you're actually responding to his intent, the intent that you think he wants to deliver with this video.
Okay. Oh, okay. You're gonna have to edit this silence. Okay. If I'm going for what I actually think his intent is in this video, I think I've got my answer.
Okay.
And I want to preface that by saying I have no idea who he is and what his content is like. And I could be totally off base because I'm thinking I'm understanding his sense of humor, but I may not be.
Yeah. I'm glad that you said that. Oh, this is going to be so good.
This is a tough one.
Yeah. So glad that you said that, because all of these are from random places online. You know, honestly, I don't have much understanding. I just literally was trying to find things that were like empath, empathy, you know, bring it to the game, see where it goes. And I'm not an expert on this either. So I just tried to find ones that seemed like it would be something that people might have differences on, and wanted to bring that to the conversation. So with that being said, I'm going to say that you put remix. I think I'm going safe with remix.
Yeah, that is a good safe one. I actually ended up going with Our Thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh,
and
you want to talk about it, don't you? I know you do.
I'm just going to write it down as like maybe the one I want to talk about at the end.
All right, so here's the next one. This one came from a Google search of unpopular opinions. Marriage no longer works.
Oh, that's it?
Yep, that's it.
You know, Danny, I am someone who like lives in the gray. So marriage, like these kind of statements where it's like a hard line, I really struggle with. Okay, got my answer.
Okay, I think you kind of gave it away for me. So again,
I know.
I'm gonna go with remix.
Yeah, that's what I said, remix.
Okay. All right, so here's the next one. And I'll let you read this one out loud when it comes in the chat.
Okay. This game is really fun.
Like, oh, I'm glad that you that's how I win in life.
You've got a winner here. This is really fun.
Awesome.
Reading personal development will not lead to success. It is actually the latest way to burn out.
And this is an unknown person on Google. I don't have the author for this one.
Okay. Got my answer.
All right. I am going to say that you put Their Thought.
I put remix.
For remix? Oh, I knew I should have went with that one. I was going to go there and I was just like, no. Okay. I have this next one. Go ahead and read that out loud for me.
Political correctness is killing the honest opinion in this world. I don't know how I feel about this. Okay.
I don't know. I feel like you're giving it away, but now you're like kind of throwing me off. So I say remix.
I almost did remix and I ended off on Our Thought.
Oh,
all that silence, and at the end I landed on Our Thought.
It was like, I don't know. And then it was just like, I don't know. I kind of led with that. I am not winning. I'm not winning. All right, but we are at our last. Did we do this one already? Yep, we did. Okay, that was our last question. So I'll tally them up at the end, and then I'll have it edited to see what my score was. So I'm gonna put my score on the screen to see how many did I guess correctly, and then I'll also put on the other side of the screen what Erin levels were for Our Thought, Their Thought, and Remix. Now that we are closing out, you can share one of them you want to talk about just a little bit, and then after you talk about that, I'll just have 2 questions for you to close out the video. And I want to thank you so much for being here. So which one did you want to talk about so bad?
I actually want to pass it back to you.
Okay.
Was there one that really surprised you and and you would like to, hear why I went with what I went with.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Marriage no longer works. Why did you go with what you went with marriage no longer works?
I think I ended up with remix on that one, right? I think that marriage no longer works because there's a lot of pressure on the family unit. And by that, I mean, without a lot of community support, it's really hard for, two people to be carrying all of the responsibility that they're carrying. So in that sense, yes, marriage no longer works. I'm also, someone who's quite open to LGBT plus community folks. And I know that there are some people who think marriage should be a certain way. And, it kind of depends on your definition of marriage. If your definition of marriage is a man and a woman, I would like that to be expanded to be more inclusive of other relationships that are also committed and would like to receive the same, what would it be called? Like support within our society. So that's why I think marriage no longer works. I would agree with it. And why I would disagree with it, there are lots of people who are happily married and who are choosing marriage and find a lot of growth and comfort and support within marriage. So it's not like it's totally not working. I think that there are parts of it that are working for some people and parts of it that are not working for other people. And I'm really curious to see how marriage evolves and what commitment would look like, 100 years from now, and whatever culture exists 100 years from now, 200 years from now. It's culturally divided and devised. And I think I'm recognizing that our cultures are always in flux, but right now we're going through a really big change with social media. And I'm curious to see how new thoughts that are shared more socially, how that influences our relationships with people that we want to be partners with. I've got lots of thoughts on that right now, all flooding my mind at the same time, but that's the gist of it.
Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing and playing and just being a part of this experiment. I have played around with this game, and I think today I feel very confident in how I can make this something that people can learn from by also sharing those who have identified as a good leader or a creator that wants good or add value to the world. And so in 2023, this year, I have changed the name of this podcast from Self-Tivity, which was more like, self-awareness and just the self part, to Be Peace Equations, which is opening it up to the stories and conversations about what it means to have peace. And I want to gather all the data on answers on what peace means to people. So the last two questions is, what does peace mean to you? And how do you contribute peace into the world? And if you don't do it yet, how do you imagine that you will?
So what does peace mean to me? I think for me, when I feel most at peace is when I am, I hope I can explain this right. It's when I am out of that judgmental part of my brain. So, people may be doing things that I don't like or that I feel really strongly against. But when I can come back to a place of giving empathy to myself first, perhaps, if it's really hurtful or painful to me. And then once I've done that, trying to get an understanding of where they're coming from, because all of us as human beings, we all have these needs that are driving our behavior. And when I can understand my motivation and the needs that are beneath my behavior, and then I can extend that kind of compassion to someone else and get a sense of why they're doing what they're doing, it creates that pathway for peace. It doesn't mean I'm there yet, but I can start to see them as human and not this other person that I need to be afraid of or that I need to fight. I can start to see them as someone that I could connect with. Doesn't necessarily mean I want to have a conversation with everybody. I'm not there yet, and maybe I'll never be there. But that feeling of peace in me, of feeling like, okay, I think I get you. you. I think I understand why you're doing what you're doing. I don't maybe agree with your strategy or your choice, or I wish you were valuing something else, but feeling that sense of peace in me of I see your humanity, that feels really good to me. So that's my definition of peace. Well, it's not my definition of peace. It's my lived experience of peace. And that's actually what I try to help other people find for themselves, because, we can only do so much in our worlds to create change. And maybe that doesn't sound as positive as some people would like, but I mean, these problems were here before we were born. There's a very good chance a lot of them will continue, but what can we do in our lives to move the needle? And I think, focusing on that self-compassion, and then extending self-compassion beyond ourselves, I think that's how we can create peace and spread peace in the world. When we're moving away, when we're first noticing our judgments, that's a big step. And then, if we're noticing our judgments, then just not beating ourselves up for having them, just getting really curious about, oh, I had that really awful thought about that person. I wonder why I was thinking that. And then, just having a lot of gentleness with ourselves. What was behind that thought? I was really needing this. And then getting curious. I wonder what was behind their strategy that I really didn't like and I was really against, and trying to understand that person. To me, that's how we slowly branch out peace. It starts in us and it slowly spreads, first in the way that we're thinking about ourselves and then how we're extending it to others. Awesome. Did I answer both questions?
You did. I think you answered the second question as it relates to how people can do it, but it was more personal. Like, how do you think that you contributed peace out into the world for yourself? But if you are aligning with that as it relates to yourself, or that's something that you want to do, then yeah, I would say that you answer it. Do you feel like you align with what you said that people should do?
So I think that I aim to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like I have everything all figured out. I am not that's part of the reason why I chose the name Meta Mentoring, because I didn't want to be an expert. I have spent time practicing techniques related to self-awareness and self-acceptance and empathy and connection and compassion. But oh my gosh, I make so many mistakes. And I know that the mistakes are just where the learning happens. Doesn't mean that the mistakes feel very nice to go through them. But I keep striving for that. And I strive for it not because I want to be a good person. I'm striving for it because when I find that moment of release, connection, peace in me, that feels good. I want more of that. And so I keep practicing these things that I know how to do just so that I can feel more of that peace in me. And that's how I try to do it.
And if people want to connect with you, share any of your social media, your website, and then anything you want to say before we close out today.
Okay. So I am on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, and I think that's it. And my handle is at Meta Mentoring, METAMENTORING. And anything else I want to say? I want to say this game was really fun. I was so nervous, Danny, but this game was so fun. I hope that other people enjoy listening to it because it was really fun to take part.
Yeah, that makes my heart so warm and happy because I've just been just making up stuff, trying stuff. I'm just experimenting and trying out. And then this year, I feel like I've been able to make it a little bit more clear what I'm trying to do with it and just what I'm trying to experience from it. And I wanted YouTube and podcasting to be something where I was excited to come. And I know that I'm excited about learning people. I'm also excited about playing games. And I want it to be who I am, which is something a little different than what's going on.
So fun and playful. Yeah, no, this was great. I love the format. I love that you were guessing. And the other thing that comes to mind is I bet if I were giving feedback after each one, you would start getting all of them right because you'd get where I'm going.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because then I would learn you a little bit more. So but both of them work. So I'm trying to figure out if I want to do this halfway, but I think it'd probably be best still because I want to know what is the one thing I have to talk about that. I need to say why I said that, because some of them are why did she say that,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it could lead to like, someone may be interested and like, we didn't know why you did that. Or you can come in the comment box and say like, I didn't get to say this here, but this is why I said our thought for this.
That's actually a really good strategy, leaving the rest for comments, because even now I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to go out there as, my answers without any explanation. And people are probably going to be like, why did she pick that?
Another strategy is you take the clip of that part and you repost it, and then you say what you wanted to elaborate on in your own platform. Like I went on the show, and this is, the question, and this is what I chose. I said I agree with it, which was our thought. Let me tell you a little bit of why.
Oh, that is so smart, Danny, because now you are doing, now you're on everybody's platform.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Really smart.
But also it's a partnership, right? You expose another part of yourself when they do watch the full video, but then you expand, and like people are like, oh, that's interesting, and like, oh, why did she say that? I also feel that way too. Maybe I will align with her services. Maybe I will. Me and her had the same thing, so everybody wins.
Yeah, you're right. Very clever.
Well, thank you, Erin, for sharing your time with me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And for everyone who's listening, I hope there was a return on the investment of time you spent with us today. If you have any questions or you thought that you wanted to know more about one of the thoughts that Erin has, go ahead and leave a comment in the comment boxes below, but also look in the description box so that you can reach out to Erin and connect with her if you're interested in her services. Until next time, hold on to you as much as you can. Hold on to your health, your well-being, and your mind. Bye.